In the quiet corners of human consciousness, where questions about purpose and destiny echo through the corridors of the soul, there exists a profound understanding that our journeys are not random. They are carefully orchestrated dances of learning, growing, and ultimately returning home. Edgar, the sleeping prophet whose visions penetrated the veil between worlds, offered humanity a perspective that transforms how we understand our spiritual evolution. Karma, in its truest essence, is not the universe's way of punishing us for past transgressions. This is perhaps one of the most liberating truths we can embrace. Instead, karma represents the soul's curriculum, a divine syllabus designed with infinite wisdom and compassion. Every challenge we face, every relationship that tests us, every moment of joy or sorrow serves as a lesson in the greatest subject of all, love. Consider for a moment the nature of learning itself. When a child learns to walk, they fall countless times. Each fall is not a punishment but a necessary step toward mastery. The universe operates with similar grace. Our mistakes, our struggles, our moments of darkness, these are not evidence of divine abandonment, but proof of divine investment in our growth. The wheel of reincarnation, that ancient concept found in wisdom traditions across the globe, turns continuously for most souls. We return again and again, lifetime after lifetime, not because we are trapped, but because we are students who have not yet completed our coursework. Each life offers new opportunities to understand compassion, to practice forgiveness, to embody unconditional love. But there comes a moment, a sacred threshold, when the soul finally integrates the lessons it has been learning across countless incarnations. This is not achieved through perfection in the worldly sense. It is not about never making mistakes or always knowing the right thing to do. Rather, it is about reaching a state of consciousness where love becomes not something we do, but something we are. When this understanding crystallizes within the soul, something extraordinary happens. The wheel that has been turning for so long begins to slow. The magnetic pull that draws us back into physical form weakens, not because life has become unbearable, but because it has become complete. The soul has learned what it came here to learn. This completion is not an ending in the tragic sense. It is not death or annihilation. It is, in truth, the most beautiful graduation imaginable. The spirit, having walked through fire and emerged refined, having loved and lost and loved again, having stumbled and risen more times than can be counted, finally stands in the full radiance of its divine nature. Rest, in this context, takes on profound meaning. It is not the rest of exhaustion, though the soul may indeed be weary from its long journey. It is the rest of accomplishment, the peace that comes when you can finally set down a heavy burden you have been carrying. Imagine a traveler who has walked across continents, through deserts and mountains, storms and sunshine, finally arriving at their destination. The rest they experience is sweet beyond words, not because the journey was meaningless, but because it is complete. Edgar spoke of this completion not as something reserved for saints or mystics alone, but as the birthright of every soul willing to learn. The timeline differs for each of us. Some souls move through their lessons quickly, while others take longer, circling back to themes they need to understand more deeply. There is no judgment in this, only infinite patience and endless opportunities. The beauty of karmic completion lies in its availability to anyone, regardless of their starting point. You do not need to have lived a perfect life. You do not need to have always been kind, always been wise, always been strong. What matters is that you have been willing to learn, willing to grow, willing to open your heart, even when it hurt to do so. When karma completes itself, the soul experiences something that can only be described as homecoming. It is the feeling of finally remembering who you truly are after a long period of forgetting. It is the moment when the masks fall away, the roles we have played dissolve, and what remains is pure, radiant consciousness, the spark of the divine that has always resided within us. This is not escape from life, but fulfillment of life's highest purpose. The soul that is ready to rest has not given up. It has graduated. It has moved through the curriculum with diligence and heart, and now it stands at the threshold of something beyond what words can capture, a peace that surpasses understanding, a love that knows no bounds, a freedom that is absolute. There are markers on the path of spiritual completion, subtle yet unmistakable signs that indicate a soul has nearly finished its earthly curriculum. These signs are not achievements to be earned through force of will, but natural emanations of a consciousness that has been transformed by the fires of experience and the waters of wisdom. The first and perhaps most profound sign is a deep serenity that remains unshaken even when life presents its greatest challenges. This is not the false peace of denial or the numbness of disconnection. Rather, it is an authentic tranquility that flows from understanding. When you have lived enough lives, experienced enough pain and joy, you begin to see patterns that were invisible before. You recognize that every storm eventually passes, that every night gives way to dawn, that suffering itself is a temporary state within an eternal journey. A soul approaching completion does not avoid pain or pretend that difficulties do not exist. Instead, there is a fundamental shift in relationship to these experiences. Where once there might have been resistance, now there is acceptance. Where once there was panic, now there is presence. This person faces illness, loss, betrayal, and disappointment with a quality of grace that seems almost otherworldly, because in a sense, it is. They are drawing upon wisdom accumulated across lifetimes. The second sign reveals itself in the relationship with the past. Most people carry their history like chains, regrets about choices made, anger about injustices suffered, shame about mistakes committed. But the soul nearing completion demonstrates a remarkable quality of detachment from personal history. This does not mean forgetting or pretending the past did not happen. It means releasing the energetic charge that keeps us bound to old stories. Such a person can speak about their most difficult experiences without drowning in them. They have metabolized their pain, extracted the lessons, and let go of the residue. There is no need to rehearse old grievances or relive ancient wounds. The past has become simply information, valuable for the wisdom it provided, but no longer alive with emotional intensity. This detachment is not cold or callous. It is the natural result of true understanding and genuine forgiveness. Perhaps the most beautiful sign of karmic completion is the flowering of unconditional love. This is love without prerequisites, without demands, without the need for reciprocation. It extends not only to family and friends, but to strangers, to those who have caused harm, even to those who remain hostile. This love does not arise from moral obligation or spiritual ambition. It emerges organically from a consciousness that has finally grasped a fundamental truth. We are all expressions of the same divine source, all souls on the same journey home. This person sees beyond the surface behaviors that separate and divide. They perceive the scared child within the aggressive adult, the wounded heart beneath the defensive armor, the divine light hidden within even the most troubled soul. Their love is not sentimental or naive. They remain fully aware of human failings and limitations, but they have developed the capacity to hold it all with compassion, to witness human imperfection without losing sight of divine perfection. Another sign manifests as an unusual quality of presence. While others are constantly pulled into past regrets or future anxieties, the soul approaching completion rests naturally in the eternal now. Time becomes less tyrannical. There is less rushing, less urgency, less feeling of running out of time. Not because this person is passive or unmotivated, but because they have touched something timeless within themselves and know that the essence of who they are cannot be diminished by the passage of years. This presence radiates outward, affecting everyone they encounter. People feel seen, heard, and valued in their company. Conversations deepen naturally. Silence becomes comfortable rather than awkward. There is no need to fill every moment with noise because the person has become at ease with emptiness, with stillness, with the spaciousness that exists between thoughts and actions. You will also notice in these souls a certain quality of transparency. They have nothing to hide because they have nothing to prove. The elaborate masks that most people wear, the the personas constructed to impress, to protect, to manipulate, have been set aside. What you see is what you get. A human being who has integrated their shadows, acknowledged their limitations, and made peace with their imperfections. This transparency is deeply refreshing in a world where so much interaction is filtered through pretense and performance. The person approaching karmic completion speaks their truth clearly but without aggression. They can admit mistakes readily because their sense of worth is not dependent on being right. They can receive criticism without crumbling because they know that external opinions cannot alter their essential nature. There is also a noticeable shift in their relationship to material success and worldly recognition. While they may still engage with the world productively, there is no desperate grasping for more money, more status, more validation. They have discovered a sufficiency within themselves that makes external accumulation less compelling. They can hold possessions lightly, knowing that nothing they own defines them. Finally, and perhaps most mysteriously, these souls often radiate a subtle light that others can sense even if they cannot name it. It is not physical luminosity, but an energetic quality, a warmth, an openness, a vibration of peace that affects the atmosphere around them. Animals sense it and approach them with unusual trust. Children feel safe in their presence. Even strangers find themselves opening up, sharing stories and secrets they normally keep guarded. This radiance is not something they create or project through effort. It is simply what remains when all the barriers have been removed, when the soul has cleared away the debris of countless lifetimes and stands revealed in its original purity. It is the light that was always there, now finally visible because nothing blocks it anymore. There exists a state of being that transcends all striving, all seeking, all need to become something other than what you already are. This is the territory of the soul that has completed its karmic journey, a space of such profound freedom that it can barely be described in language, yet its effects are unmistakable to anyone who encounters it. The fundamental shift occurs when a person stops reacting and begins simply comprehending. Most human suffering arises from our resistance to what is, our constant battle against reality as it presents itself. We fight circumstances, rail against injustices, argue with the universe about how things should be different. But the soul approaching its final incarnation has discovered something revolutionary. Reality does not need our approval or our resistance. It simply is. This understanding brings with it an extraordinary lightness. Imagine carrying a 100-pound weight for so long that you forgot you were carrying it, believing instead that life itself was simply meant to be heavy. Then one day, you set the weight down and realize that the burden was never necessary. This is what happens when karma completes itself. The soul discovers it was never required to fix everything, control everything, or make everything conform to personal preferences. This does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. Rather, it means engaging with life from a place of sacred neutrality. The person continues to act, to choose, to participate fully in existence, but without the feverish attachment to specific outcomes that characterizes most human endeavor. They plant seeds without obsessing over the harvest. They offer love without demanding it be returned in particular forms. They contribute their gifts without needing recognition or reward. In this state, the ancient patterns of ego-driven behavior begin to dissolve. There is no longer a compulsion to win arguments, to prove superiority, to establish oneself as better than others. These games, which consume so much human energy, suddenly appear pointless to a consciousness that has expanded beyond the narrow confines of personal identity. The question shifts from, how can I get what I want, to, what does life want to express through me? Many souls in their final earthly cycle do not come primarily to learn new lessons, but to serve as living examples of what is possible. They have graduated from being students to becoming teachers, not necessarily in formal educational settings, but through the simple power of their presence. They teach without teaching, heal without healing techniques, and guide without giving directions. Their very being becomes an invitation to others to remember their own divine nature. These servants of the light often appear ordinary, even unremarkable by worldly standards. They may not be famous or wealthy or celebrated, but those who have eyes to see recognize something extraordinary within them, a quality of peace that seems to emanate from a source beyond this world. They have become translucent, allowing divine light to shine through them with minimal distortion. Such a person has developed what might be called one foot in heaven. While they continue to inhabit a physical body and navigate earthly responsibilities, their consciousness is already partially dissolved into the eternal. They experience themselves as both form and formlessness, both individual and universal, both mortal and immortal. This dual awareness allows them to function effectively in the world while remaining unattached to it. Their rest has already begun, even while breath still flows through their lungs. This is not the rest of withdrawal or escapism, but the rest of completion. They have done the work, learned the lessons, and now simply exist in a state of being that requires no justification or improvement. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to achieve in the ultimate sense, nothing left to become. When karma reaches its natural conclusion, the soul experiences what can only be described as a magnetic pull toward the source. This is not something imposed from outside, but an organic movement arising from resonance. Just as a tuning fork vibrates in sympathy with another tuning fork of the same frequency, the purified soul begins to vibrate at the frequency of divine love itself. This resonance creates an irresistible attraction back to the infinite. Edgar understood this return not as a reward earned through good behavior, but as a natural consequence of spiritual maturity. The soul does not deserve to go home because it accumulated enough merit points. Rather, it simply becomes unable to remain separate from what it has realized itself to be. The illusion of separation dissolves, and what remains is the clear recognition of unity with all that is. This awakening in the home that we never truly left represents the ultimate paradox of the spiritual journey. We travel vast distances, through countless lifetimes, through experiences of every imaginable variety, only to discover that we were always exactly where we needed to be. The journey was necessary, but its necessity arose from our belief that we were separate from God, separate from love, separate from home. When this belief finally crumbles under the weight of accumulated wisdom, what emerges is a laughter of recognition. The cosmic joke reveals itself. We were searching everywhere for what we never lost. We were struggling to return to a place we never actually left. The separation was always illusory, a necessary dream that allowed us to experience the joy of remembering who we truly are. The soul that has completed its karma lives in this remembrance. It knows itself as both the drop and the ocean, both the wave and the water, both the individual expression and the infinite source. This knowing is not intellectual, but experiential, a direct perception that cannot be shaken by circumstances or diminished by time. And so the journey concludes where it began, in love. Not the conditional, limited love that humans often mistake for the real thing, but the vast, boundless, unconditional love that creates and sustains all existence. The soul recognizes itself as this love, has always been this love, will always be this love. The drama of separation, suffering, and seeking has served its purpose. Now there is only the eternal embrace of coming home. This is the completion of karma. This is the soul's final rest. This is the peace that surpasses all understanding, available not someday in some distant future, but now, in this very moment, for anyone willing to stop fighting and simply remember what they have always been. If this message resonated with your soul, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our community of spiritual seekers. Your subscription helps spread this wisdom to others who may need to hear it on their journey home. Share in the comments below. Have you recognized any of these signs within yourself or someone close to you? What has been your experience with releasing karma and finding inner peace? Your insights might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Remember, we're all walking each other home. Let's walk together.